We all know Hans from Frozen has a ton of brothers, 12 to be exact, and only one of those boys were destined to continue the royal lineage in their home country of the Southern Isles, leaving the others to float by on their lives. This is why Hans attempts to marry into Arendelle. He wanted to establish a legacy of his own and break away from the shadow of all of those brothers. So who are the rest of the princes of the Southern Isles? Hello, I'm Isaac from Wantso Videos, where we discuss fun topics for fun people. Today, I'm going to theorize on who are Hans's brothers. But before I begin theorizing, let's cover what we actually know. In Frozen, we don't see any brothers, but we get a glimpse into their backstories in other works like Once Upon a Time. In this iteration, the princes of the Southern Isles are aligned with Hans's plot to take over Arendelle, which is a direct contradiction to the movie. In the film, Hans's brothers actually punish him for the deceit he brought to the princesses of Arendelle, and in Frozen Fever, his punishment is not very pleasant.
I hate the North!
We did learn some possible names of the brothers, since two were referred to as Franz and Jurgen, but otherwise the story told in Once Upon a Time is not much help because it conflicts with the canon of the original film. What is useful is A Frozen Heart, a book by Elizabeth Rudnick. This story records the canonical thoughts of both Anna and Hans, allowing us to finally learn some of the details of Hans' dark past and his cruel family. Unfortunately, we don't learn about all of the brothers, but we know some general facts on them. We know they were all married before Hans became an adult, and they were all pretty torturous to Hans. They would play tricks on him, tease him, and humiliate him during political meetings. Even the king and father of Hans didn't care for him because he saw him as young and weak. We don't know all of the brothers, but we know some information on a few of them. The oldest child to the king of the Southern Isles, who was also the favorite, was Prince Caleb. The third oldest son was named Lars, who was a historian and was the kindest to Hans. And finally, the other brothers we know of who were the worst to Hans were the twins Rudy and Runo. This is all we know from the canon, but I'm not done here. When else have we seen large, red-headed men desperate to achieve wealth like Hans? I think the Stabbington brothers from Tangled are the twins Rudy and Runo from A Frozen Heart. Sure, there are a bunch of films connecting to Frozen, but the connections between Hans and the Stabbington brothers and Frozen and Tangled are the strongest by far. In Frozen, we see Elsa and Anna's parents venturing out of Arendelle to another kingdom, likely to Rapunzel's castle to view her wedding. And 3 years later on Elsa's coronation day, we get an appearance by Rapunzel and Eugene. This all occurs on the same timeline as the one in real life, since Tangled released on November 24th, 2010, and Frozen released almost 3 years later exactly on November 27th, 2013. So these films' connections definitely feel legitimate. The connections are clear and the timelines work out, so it's possible individuals in Tangled could be tied with characters in Frozen. We know the Stabbington brothers are likely twins due to them both having red hair, light blue eyes, big noses, big jaws, muscular bodies, and the same height. And they possess similar red hair, big ears, and huge sideburns just like Hans. I mean, sure, Hans and the Stabbington brothers don't have a ton of physical similarities, but that makes sense. Hans was bullied for being the small and youngest child, so if they looked exactly the same, then it wouldn't have made sense for Hans to be tormented. In addition, the Stabbington brothers' relationship with Hans also explains why they resorted to thievery. They had a similar thought process to Hans. They knew they would never receive the crown of the Southern Isles, so they wanted to establish their own wealth, but they didn't do a great job of doing this. The Stabbington brothers went from a life of luxury to the real world really quick, which is why they hired the greatest thief in the land, Flynn Rider, and why they are so susceptible to his tricks. They were experts on royals, so they decided to rob a kingdom, but they didn't possess much experience. On top of the similar appearances and thought process to Hans, statistics show it is very likely the Stabbington brothers are Rudy and Runo. Out of 1,000 people, 32 are twins, and out of those 32, only 2% are red-headed, meaning there's a 0.064% chance of being a red-headed twin. And that number continues to decrease when you look at all of the similarities between them and Hans. My last piece of evidence to show Hans and the Stabbington brothers are related comes from how both parties are treated after their wrongdoings. I find it really interesting the Stabbington brothers are invited to the wedding of Eugene and Rapunzel in Tangled Ever After, showing they are allowed to be redeemed. They gain compassion and seem to really care about the love in the room. And there is a rumored story arc that is very similar for Hans in Frozen 2. Hans is rumored to get a redemption story in the sequel, meaning he's going to become a better person after his treachery to a kingdom just like the Stabbington brothers. This video was sponsored by my patrons over at Patreon. Patreon is a voluntary pledge service where you can support creators like me while also earning exclusive rewards. If you are interested in donating to help grow the channel, check out the page at patreon.com/WhatsoVideos. So there you have it, everything we know on Hans's brothers. If you'd like to continue to learn and theorize on them, I'll leave the links to Frozen, Tangled, and A Frozen Heart along with the resources I used in the description of this video. So now it's time for your thoughts. Do you think Hans and the Stabbington brothers are related? What do you think of the Southern Isle princes? Let me know in the comment section along with any other ideas you have for future Discovering Disney episodes. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, then remember to subscribe to WhatsoVideos and click the bell if you'd like to be notified when I post. Thanks for watching and have a magical day.